Hello to all you guys out there in YouTube land. Yes, it's me, DR, and what am I vlogging about today? Well, there's an article that came out in the BBC news website about a patient who had been evicted from a hospital after 2 years. Now, at first I thought, oh my God, that's terrible. But when I started to read the article, the kind of, a different narrative started to be developed. This patient was admitted back in August 2014 and refused to leave the James, I think it's Paget, P-A-G-E-T, University Hospital in Norfolk. He refused to leave this hospital for 2 years. Now, the patient's not been named, so that's a good thing, because at least he's keeping his anonymity and remaining anonymous. But at the same point, the patient was cleared and deemed fit to leave the hospital very soon after he'd been admitted. And he basically refused to take all of the acceptable accommodation measures provided by the local authority. You know, for me, this story, it's indicative to what's happening out there at the moment. I mean, for anyone who's not aware of, especially if you're not familiar in the UK, this form of activity is actually called bed blocking. It's called bed blocking. It's where someone refuses to leave a bed in a hospital. And this gentleman did this for 2 whole years. And the hospital was forced to go to court and get a court order to have the gentleman removed from the hospital bed, which is crazy for me. It's terrible. So most of us are kind of sitting there, blame culture, seeking to blame this patient for occupying a bed for 2 years. Was the hospital in the wrong for removing him? No, because the hospital, their duty of care is for people who need help, and this person was deemed medically fit to leave the hospital. So what actually is going on in this scenario, in this environment? Well, I don't have all the information, as I just have what's on the BBC website. But in my opinion, and this is purely opinion, this is indicative of a deeper problem happening within the UK and potentially in other areas, where we're seeing these indirect symptoms of a bigger issue. And for me, the issue is a simple one of care in our community, is empathy, compassion maybe in our communities, where people will stay, like this gentleman, in a hospital bed for 2 years because that's probably the only place he got some compassion. He got people to care for him. He got people who looked after him. Now, I think this is a very selfish move on this part, but it's showing that as our society becomes more selfish, these hidden costs, these issues will start flaring up. This person, why would you stay in a hospital bed for 2 years when you could rejoin society? Now, why would you? Is it that within the hospital bed, that was a place that you're made to feel like a person and made to feel important and cared for? Is that the real issue that's going on here? And it's so easy to blame this person, and they've been rehomed and the hospital has its bed back and it's taken 2 years. So you might say, well, the issue is it took 2 years to do this. I think the issue is we should, we need to really kind of look around us and think, are we creating a kind of society where someone will prefer to stay in a hospital bed than rejoin us? And potentially the answer might be yes, because are we becoming less caring about the people around us? Are we seeking to blame people and to tar people with a brush unfairly? Are we seeking that rather than seeking to help and support people when they need it? People always talk about there's limits until we become quite personally attached to the story, and then there's no limits that we would cross to save and support the ones we love. But actually, there's an old adage that how we treat the least of us is how we treat the best of us at a later point. And I think this story, it kind of resonated with me with that. So, you guys tell me what you think. Write in the comments, subscribe, like if you like the video content. I'm not going to do daily stuff because that's just, but this story just resonated with me because it's so easy to blame the person and say, look at you selfish person taking a hospital bed. It's so easy for us to make that judgment. And I have to admit, when I first read it, I did. And then I had to stop and think, What would make someone stay in a hospital bed when they're actually well enough to go? What is it about being there that's different from being outside? And it might be that contact, that contact with human beings, that this person might end up going back and not seeing anyone and them being alone. And I think that's important to get out of this. Anyway, I've gone on probably way too long on about a story like this, but it just resonated with me. Anyway, this is DR saying peace out and have a safe journey wherever you're heading.